This week I travelled all the way down to Brighton to go in every single vintage shop that I could. It took me a total of 4 hours to get down there and multiple different trains, and it wasn't easy to start with, let alone having to carry all this. I had to double bag like this pretty much the whole time and I looked like a complete idiot. And for all the embarrassment that I had to go through, a like would be very much appreciated. But the first place that we hit up in Brighton was on the high street. It was the first place we started. This one was the only charity shop that we went to. The rest of them were just like standalone like vintage shops or like secondhand clothes shops, whatever you want to call them. Oh, don't say so. I thought it was a bookshop after all that. And yeah, I got juked pretty hard to start off with. If this would have been a bookshop, I would have been so disappointed. But luckily it wasn't, and the first things that I come across were these Levi jeans. They were like $7.99, weren't really a bit of me. They were pretty average. There's some pretty sick hats though above there. Like I really want to know what that red hat is now because I just didn't look at it at the time. But they also had this really sick like proper embroidered like kind of what they call denim jackets. But the best thing in this charity shop by far was this Lyle & Scott jumper, and the person that I was with did end up buying it. Like I don't blame them, it was an absolute steal. If they wouldn't have done it, I 100% would have done it. Another piece which would have been a great personal piece if it wasn't top man was this varsity jacket. It was so nice. Once again, I've been looking for a varsity jacket as well. I've wanted one for so long, but you just have to spend so much money to get a good one. But don't get me wrong, I bet it is definitely worth it. But I ended up heading out of that charity shop and we headed down more into the lanes, into this massive vintage shop. They don't just do clothes, they also do like actual vintage items. The coolest thing I thought about this charity shop was the way you had to go in. You have to go through some sort of like turnstile thing. Thought that was pretty sick, almost as sick as this door that had like a mirror on it. It was like a car door. It was so nice, like all metal, and it was only £35. But I also heavily considered getting one of these Guinness signs, like this green one in particular. I've been looking at getting something like this for my room for so long, but I think the only thing is where it was a green, my room's quite like black and white. I say that, as you can see, the majority of my room is blue, but they're the only blue things. The rest of it is pretty black and white, so I didn't really think green would go into it. But this is my newest addition to my room, and I think you should follow the sign. They also sold like road signs in here, which I thought was quite weird. These were like £30 for a road sign. If you really want a road sign that desperately, you can go get one for free. Do you know what I mean? But in this shop there was just so much random sick stuff, like these little like film slides. I don't know if they were film slides, I'm pretty sure they were, but they could also have been like coasters. But they had some clothes in here, didn't really have too many, but I really like this like varsity jacket style thing. I'm not sure how much it was. That patch on the front is so sick. I reckon it was quite a lot though, because this feeler jacket here was £60, and I don't know about you, but I'm not paying £60 for that, because I think you could probably get that a little bit cheaper online. But after that I headed out of here. I headed literally like 3 or 4 doors down it was, to this vintage shop where they had a couple rails outside. They had all of these really sick patchwear jackets like this one. This is probably the thing I regret the most about not picking up. Like this was £50, which is quite a lot, but that patchwork jacket is so sick. Like it was so good, especially in real life. It just looked even better. If it was £20 like the sign said, 100% would have picked it up, but it wasn't. But this shop was so good. Like they had loads of good stock in there. They also had loads more of the patchwork jackets inside, which I'm still sad, once again, as I said, I didn't get. I wish I would have done. But they also had some really cool like track jacket styly things. I think they're a little bit expensive for what they are. There's some really nice workwear jackets as well for £60, I think they were. But the only thing is, if you're gonna spend £60 on a workwear jacket, you might as well do the extra 20 and get yourself a Carhartt one. That's what I think anyway. But there's some really nice barber coats in there as well, like proper like wax ones, which I reckon would sell for a lot if you were to resell them. They also had a whole rail full of Burberry like trench coats. I just think how much money it must have cost them to get all them, but they were really nice as well. But then another thing that I regret not going back for, to add to the very long list, were these rings. Like there were some really sick rings in this little bucket. I could have got about 4 or 5 of them easily. The only thing was the person there only took cash, and we didn't have any cash at the time, so that's where that story ended. But to take a step away for a second from the vintage shop, I headed down to Rolls Fudge Pantry, I think it's called. Look at how sick it is, them pouring the fudge in the window. But if you've watched my videos before, you know I like fudge, and this was arguably some of the best I've ever had. Like, this was actually insane. But to go away from fudge, we headed over to be worn again, which one has a really sick name, and two, it had some really good stock for really good prices as well. Like all these puffer jackets outside, they were all only £20, and some of them were serious puffer jackets, like good quality, thick, weren't really bad condition either. But we headed upstairs and they had so many shoes as well, like these Sambas. I was so tempted to pick them up. They were only, I think, £15 as well, which isn't bad at all. But the next sick thing I found in this charity shop was this orange jacket, kind of like the one I'm wearing now, same kind of orange, but all these patches on this jacket were so good, and this jacket was so thick and it literally had no marks on it. Once again, another piece to add to the long list, which I could have easily picked up. The only thing is, I didn't know how much it was because it didn't have a price tag on it, so I think it was going to be pretty expensive because there was a blue jacket next to it and it weren't half as good as this, and that was £60, I think. So I dread to think how much that one was. But they also had this really sick like elevator jacket, but it had this Eric embroidered on the front, and I thought, if you're not called Eric, you're not going to be able to really wear it because everyone's going to think you're called Eric. There's some really good varsity jackets in here. My favorite 100% being that blue one that had the patches on the arm, but I think they were so, like, really expensive again, but they are really good quality, so they do kind of warrant the price, but I just can't bring myself to drop that much. But they also had loads of workwear jackets in here once again, some off-brand ones, some Carhartt ones, but it was exactly the same story as earlier. The off-brand ones were like £60, and if you're going to spend £60, you might as well go all the way and go Carhartt and drop £80. But the only other thing that was sick in this vintage shop was this like bally, if you want to call it, this Carhartt bally. It was really nice. I think it was £60 though, but I would have paid, if I had the money, I would have done it, but I can't drop £60 on a bally. But a little bit up the road was this market stand. We'd literally just missed the majority of the markets. They were all shut in at the time we were going, but they had this really cool like Averex jacket. I think it was about £200, but these Averex jackets are so nice. Once again, if I had the money, something that I would 100% want to buy. But then on the same road, there was this absolutely gigantic vintage shop that has a massive downstairs and so much cool random stuff. The first thing you're greeted by is this is that Bugs Bunny like carousel kind of thing. I dread to think how much that must be. The next thing that I found, which I really liked, was this clock that you can see up on the wall. You can't really see it in the video, but they had little individual gears in between and they were all spinning. Trust me, it looked good. Another thing that looked good were these like Ferrari tins. They were £30 though, which isn't really too bad, but I haven't really got anywhere to put a Ferrari tin. But once again, it matches my jacket. And then the next thing I come across, which I would have bought if I had somewhere to put it, were these lights that were like beer pullers, if is that what you'd call them. They were really nice, but we were saying, imagine if the actual like beer puller bit turned it on and on, that would have transformed those lights from a 6 to a 10. But something that was a straight 10 was this safety deposit box that used to be like one of the ones that you have in like the American banks. It was a staggering £6,000 though. Like, that is a lot of money, and I wouldn't be shocked if it probably weighed that much as well. But then we headed upstairs to where like the clothes and that were. There weren't really too many good clothes. The only interesting thing were these superstars, and they were literally only £15, but the only thing I thought is they look literally identical to these, so I would be buying pretty much a duplicate of the same shoe. But they were for £15. These shoes were pretty much like brand new. I was tempted to get them just to beat them up, but I didn't in the end. Add that to the long list of things I regret not picking up. But we ended up heading out of here. Like, this shop was so good. There was so much stuff I could have bought, especially if I had a house. Like, I could have bought so much stuff for it. But once again, we headed just a little bit further down the road to another vintage shop, and arguably this was probably one of my favorites of the day. They had so much cool stuff in here, starting off with that like Kogi lookalike sweatshirt. Been looking to buy one of these for a very long time now, once again to add to the list of things that I've been wanting to buy for a long time. But I think they're so nice. There's some other really nice ones in here, but they were like £60. By far, this one was hands down my favorite. This kind of actually actually reminds me more of the Kogi ones, because some of the ones that are just like the lookalike ones are like a bit more boring. Like this was really vibrant in real life. There's some really cool dungarees as well, as you can see. I wish I could pull off dungarees because they look so sick. I see a guy there on this day who had a pair of Tommy Hilfiger ones and they looked so sick. But another thing I thought looked so sick was this North Face coat in a purple. I really like purple. I don't have enough purple clothes, and for how good quality this coat was, it wasn't too much. I think it might have been like £50, which isn't bad at all. Then we went in arguably the weirdest vintage shop of the day. This shop was like it was someone's house that they'd just stripped out and thrown rails in. You see what I mean? The downstairs is just like a landing kind of room, and then you go upstairs and it's like just splits off into like bedrooms almost. There really weren't too many interesting clothes in here, but the most interesting part about this place was the very upstairs and these Converse rooms. They were literally just rooms full up of Converse shoes. They were only £5 each though, which once again really isn't bad. They were heavily varying in quality. Some of them were completely destroyed, but then some of them were like near enough new. But none of them really interested me, so we headed out and pretty much headed across the road, I think it was, into probably one of my favourite vintage shops of the day for the stock that they had. It was all a little bit pricey, but it was so nice. Like these like jerseys, they were absolutely amazing, but they were about £100 a go. Once again, if I had the money, 100% would have picked one up because they were so nice and good quality. They also had these Levi jeans, like reworked Levi jeans. They weren't really a little bit of me. Probably would have bought them once again if I had enough money, but yeah, I weren't really feeling them that much, but I thought they deserved a mention. But another thing which 100% deserves a mention is this Reebok jacket. This Reebok jacket was so nice, and it was literally like £32 or 36, one of the two, and they had another one as well which was similarly priced. Oh, I was so tempted to pick this up. I don't get why Reebok is so underpriced. Like Reebok is arguably one of my favorite brands. I say this too often, but it is. They have some really sick designs, but unfortunately I didn't come away with anything from Brighton. If you blow this video up, I might be able to go next time and come away with quite a lot, so that's up to you. You've got to make it happen. But I do hope you enjoyed. I hope you've done what the sign says, but I do hope to see you in another video.